Despite Forte High School in Dobsonville being a no-fee school, it still produces top matric results. The school is one of 4 or 5, I believe, featured in this month's edition of the Financial Mail with a cover story titled, "Finding a Winning Formula." What's the school's secret to their success? Let's try and find out. With me in the studio is the edition's cover star, Forte High School Principal Mukosi Mudavhi, and virtually we're joined by Financial Mail editor Rob Rose. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this evening. Forgive me, Rob, I'm going to start with your cover star. He is indeed the man of the moment. Mr. Mudavhi, we all sat up a little straighter when we realized the school principal was in the studio. We thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm sure on a Friday you must be so tired with the amount of work you would have gotten through this week. So many schools telling us they're still catching up on what they've missed as a result of COVID. But this must be a nice way to finish off with your appearance on the cover of the magazine. This edition focusing on leaders in the sector of education. What do you think when people say, what is the secret to your success? You became the principal about 10 years ago, and slowly but surely you've turned the results around to the point where the matric pass rate in 2017 was 52%, and just last year it was 94%. Are you able to tell us what the secret to your success is?
Yes. I am able to tell you what is it that the school is doing to can achieve such outstanding result with a big enrollment that we have as a school. It's a simple thing, basic things, it's hard work. We are committed to see our learners succeeding, so we instill discipline to our learners. We make sure that our educators are prepared when they go to class. We make sure that we observe the time to go to class. We also give feedback to our learners each and every quarter, or when we give tests. I think that is what is making us tick. But again, we love our learners. Our understanding is that all learners that passes through the corridors of Forte Secondary School should know that it's possible for them to can succeed and pass with quality result. And that's what we've been doing year in, year out.
Now, what you're saying, you would hear other people say, oh, this is what we're trying to do, but they've had various versions of success. Was it important for you to get buy-in from your staff, from the pupils, and indeed from the community that the school is from? And how did you do that?
It was indeed that we must make sure that all stakeholders, these are parents, educators, myself as a principal and my SMT, together with our district under the leadership of Mr. Mukosi and the facilitators, to make sure that we drive a vision that all of us must get a buy-in. It makes our life as a school easier when each and every member of staff or part of the community knows what is expected out of them. So we make sure that each and everyone understand their roles within this body. All of us, we put our shoulders on the wagon, and really this wagon will move.
Have there been any challenges, though, in getting that buy-in and getting everybody pointing in the same direction? What is the area like that your school is in? What are some of the challenges that your kids face on a day-to-day basis that you and your staff have had to overcome?
We are in a township, Dobsonville to be in particular. So you will understand in township we've got different challenges. Challenges of socio-economic that affect each and every school. We have got parents that have passed on and leave their children. So we've got child-headed families. We need to deal with that. We have got learners that are do not, in terms of nutrition, they don't have enough nutrition. So we're also lucky that the department has given us nutrition that we feed these learners on a daily basis. We do have challenges of infrastructure, of course, as a school, and this is being caused because each and every learner, since the school is now performing to the higher level, because at our school, you must understand that we don't celebrate 80%. When we get 80, 82, 83, we feel like we didn't perform. So we've put the level higher. We only celebrate anything above 90.
Wow.
When we get 87 or 83, we feel like we didn't perform. We've set the bar for all of us within the community of Forte. So we do experience those challenges. But how we solve these challenges to understand where we're working. We understand that when we give learners homework in our school, no one will assist them, these learners. If a learner may not get it right at home, he doesn't have any other resource to can assist. So we emphasize that educators must always know that they are local parentee of these learners. They are teachers, but they must also come down and understand what is going on in the families of these children. Yeah. So they become parents to these learners. And we think it's a formula that is working for us.
Absolutely. Rob, I'm going to bring you in here. I mean, I'm listening to the principal speak here now, and I feel like I wouldn't have made that very high standard that they've set for their pupils. Such is the level that they're aiming for. Your cover story in this edition, I think it was out since yesterday, called Finding a Winning Formula. A very different cover story to what we normally expect from the Financial Mail. Why was it important for you to take this direction with this 23rd edition of the Financial Mail?
Well, I mean, the thing is that education is vital for our economy to function and our society to function. And getting that right is critical. And I think, a large part of the schools are the no-fee schools, the schools, just like the principal outlined, and getting that right is fundamental to whether we have an economy that can do what we want it to or whether it doesn't. And I think one of our starting points is that this has not been a money issue. If you look at the OECD stats, education budget is fairly in line with a lot of other countries. It's a management issue. It's about how these schools are managed. And I think we, highlighting some of the exceptional examples of how people can manage no-fee schools and produce fantastic results. I mean, this school, 80% bachelor passes, and it's shown an upward trajectory like that. So the point is, this is an example of you have leaders who are already CEOs and are producing proper people who can take a place in our society, and that's what we need to aspire to. So I think these are lessons that we need to inform society about.
Is it too simple or flippant to say that the education system doesn't have a resources issue, it has a human resources issue? Is that the problem here? And through your research, I mean, I think you speak to four principles as part of this in-depth piece of yours. Is there any indication as to what the issue is? Are the wrong people being hired? Or is there any inkling that you can find that is pointing to where the problem lies?
I do think that, the four principles we did speak to, Mr. Mudavhi over here, there are exceptional people who will do fantastically well, and they will do well despite the limitations of the system. But there are systemic issues and management issues that are not being adhered to. I think there's often very poor accountability. There's not a sense of achievement in many schools. It's not aspirational achievement in many schools. And I think that, the difference you can see in a school like these schools where that, it's an aspirational thing. People want to succeed. People, principal was telling you now that 80%, 80% isn't good enough. We need 90%. I mean, that's what you need, but that's down to exceptional individuals. And that's a management issue. So I do think poor oversight and poor outcomes, not measuring it properly from the Department of Education, has been a problem. So I think that we need to get better bang for our buck in education. It's not as if resources are necessarily a problem. It's how the money's spent. And I do think that there are ways to do it properly. These examples in that cover story are ways to do it properly. But to some extent, it's also, despite the oversight structures of government, that these people are able to make it work.
Mukosi, if I can bring you in here. I mean, we're speaking there about the lack of resources that so many schools struggle with. And schools like yours are put a spotlight on as if you are working miracles on a day-to-day basis. Isn't that tiring, though? That must be very exhausting, because it would have been so much easier, because I'm sure even yourself and your teachers, I'm sure, could walk into a better resource school, a Model C school, or even a private school, and get an easier job, where all you need to focus on is the curriculum and the books in front of you and teaching your lessons, and off the kids go to into their suburbs where, they've got water and electricity, they don't have issues at home. And I mean, I'm paraphrasing and making up a very unrealistic life out there. I'm just saying that yours is a very difficult job. How do you do it? How do you keep everybody motivated? And how do you get buy-in from teachers to say, look, I know on paper this is your job, but I'm asking you to take interest in the whole child, in what's happening at home and how that could impact on what they're going through when they're trying to do their reading, writing and arithmetic. Because you are so much more than just a teacher or a principal to a lot of these kids in an area like Dobsonville.
Yeah, thanks. Of course, the issue of resources do impact to our work at school. But however, with the little resource that we have, we maximize what we have. We're not going to sit at our laurels and start to worry about resources. We say, whatever we have, we can maximize it. You will see that with our results, it shows that although we don't have enough resources, we are competing, we are even above schools that, I would say, former Model C schools of some sort in terms of our results. This is because, as I've indicated, we make sure that our teachers understand where these learners come from, the contextual factors that our learners face. But then again, the district do have facilitators that time in and again, they will come in to assist our educators. And as I've indicated, we also make sure that we teach morning, we teach afternoon.
Sure.
We also do Saturday classes that the department call it SIP. That is to cover for all the gaps that these learners have. Particularly this year, you will know that our learners were not taught at grade 11. The curriculum had to be trimmed down. But then we are still saying, regardless of that, we can still make the best out of that. But you need to make your educators understand where they are working. They need to understand the vision and the mission of your school and where the school is heading towards. So if you get that right, my understanding will be the school will hit the target. Of course, we have never reached our target because our target is to make sure that all learners that enroll for grade 12, all of them pass. And our target is to get above 80% year in, year out in terms of bachelors, so that these learners can spread in different institutions and represent Forte. Yes.
I come from a family of teachers, but I also know that we come from a history where for so long, Black South Africans or South Africans of color could only ever become either a nurse or a teacher. And there's been a concern voiced by many saying that now because there's so many opportunities for the best within our various communities, teaching is one of the last things that they consider going into because it's so difficult. Government schools are in a bit of a mess and that kind of thing, and that teaching is no longer seen as a calling. Do you believe that teaching should still be a calling, and do you believe the right people are considering teaching or education as a career?
Based on my staff that I have and all these young teachers that I've appointed since I joined the school, I still believe that teaching is a calling, and people can still choose teaching as a profession. I mean, even payment is not that much bad now. So I even have teachers that are teaching at Forte that I've taught. So interesting. But we have got young teachers that have got energy, that have joined the system. And to me, it shows that we are in the right direction. And I will encourage learners to still think of joining the teaching, because this is the mother of all profession. For you to be there is because you were taught. You sat in a class and a teacher taught you. So
and my mother was a teacher.
So you must enjoy this profession. You must have passion, by the way, to teach. You must have love for the children, because then you are dealing with children that are young, that you must protect, that you must lead into a good direction. And our excitement, our happiness and joy comes when I meet my learner who is driving a big car and tells me, Principal, you taught me. You taught me on Saturday, here is my car. I'm staying there. This is what I'm doing. That is what makes us feel happy, to say we've made an effect to one child, which will in effect affect the whole family.
Very quickly, Rob, I've run out of time, but just very quickly to you in closing. Your article opens with the sentence, there's no easy quick fix for South Africa's ailing public education system, but there are interventions that can be made, starting with putting the right people in charge at the country's under-resourced schools. One of them sitting right here at the desk with me. How do you feel after putting this piece in your publication? Is there hope?
I think there's fantastic amounts of hope, and I think that it does depend. I mean, this is a triumph of leadership, and I think that that's the fundamental issue. And there are fantastic leaders like him in our society, and that's what makes the difference. These are the assets to our society that improve the place we live in.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Financial Mail editor Rob Rose, virtually there, and in the studio here, the principal of Forte High School in Dobsonville, Mukosi Mudavhi, the cover star for Financial Mail's Finding a Winning Formula piece this month. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the work that you and your staff do on a daily basis.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming in this evening.